Hey, once again, people. Quick turnaround this week. We're back with quite a bit more than 5 of the week with a special Hall of Fame introduction. No, I was about to say induction episode, but I don't think that's going to happen live here. But yeah, we're going to chat about the upcoming class of SBA
Season
Hall of
58.
Fame, season 58 class of SBA Hall of Fame. We're joined once again by Nepto here. How's it going?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Yes, same as. Pretty good myself. So who are the people we're gonna be focusing on this week?
I mean, maybe we will even start off with congratulating Rashid Ryder and Apollo Hero
Hey,
for
hooray!
making it
Hey,
in last class. I think it was Hero's last ballot and maybe even Ryder's last ballot to
Ryder
make
was
it in.
second.
So, was he a second ballot? Okay, yeah, then.
I think so at least because. Mm,
Yeah, he was a second ballot.
yeah.
Or must be.
Well,
Don't verify.
actually,
Yeah,
the
might
ones that are coming up now played until season 54. So if you were part of the previous class and you ended your career in season 51, wouldn't that make you third ballot?
Yeah, he is third ballot. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
never mind. I
It
was
should be
blind.
noted actually in the Hall of Fame posts inducted on their third ballot or second ballot or first ballot. Anyway, it is what it is.
We can take it if she's going to induct or include the ballot remark for the next few times.
Yeah, but basically, yeah, we're talking about the newest inductees to the Hall of Fame. There's the former MVP Apollo Hero who played his career for the Mexico City Ocelots and
I think
nowhere
that's it.
else. No?
Yeah, I think that's it. He only played in Mexico.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of how his last season went, but he retired quite early, so it was still in Mexico. Yeah. And Rashid Ryder, who played for multiple teams instead, most famously a 5-time SBA champion with the Houston Ravens, and one time, or yeah, I think that's, or maybe a 2-time SBA player. One time, yeah. I'll just go with what I thought of to be true first. Yeah, so one-time playoff appearee for the St. Louis Battalion.
Yeah, big stuff.
Yeah,
So
congratulations for them. But this week we're gonna be looking forward about the season 58 class. So I'll ask you once again, who are the players up for
how about
voting and
how about we
induction?
take turns going quick run through the last second and third ballot guys since they already have the introductions, and then
Yeah,
we can break down the first ballot in detail.
yeah, sure. So I'll read through the players on the third ballot, on the third year of their ballots currently. And you can read more on the SBA Network's preview of the SBA season 57. I don't think the season 58 Hall of Fame preview is up yet, but the season 57 one, or even in these players' case, in the season 56 one, where the introductions are. Anyway, Pierre Manslapper, who played for most notably the Las Vegas Jokers, appears to be 15th in blocks of all time, which is very interesting to me since I always thought of Pierre just a sort of a standard, like well above average, but not especially uh, large on any statistical category. Also,
Lived in the shadows of the top two picks
yeah,
of that year with
certainly.
Hero and McMahon.
Also a one-time All-Star, one-time Rookie of the Year, and one-time rebounds leader. Then you have Hippolyto Mata with career averages of 16.8 points per game and 10.7 assists per game. Also, a statistical leaderboard achievement for Mata, having reached 21st in assists all time with 7,907. And don't know if this is actually right, but it says that Mata played for 8 seasons only. Must
He
be
played
right,
for
but
10,
yeah, must be right. But
9.
oh yeah.
Something like that.
44 to 52 is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 1. Yeah, that's 9.
Must be 9 because Bojack played 8.
Yeah.
If we look ahead at the next one.
Yeah, obviously, for 44 to 52, you also count the 44, not just from 44 onwards. Yeah. Anyway, that's Ippolito Mata. Had a couple of teams later in his career, but also very notable on those Apollo Hero Mexico City Ocelots teams. And then the final third ballot member on the voting list here is Bojack Peanut Butter, like you mentioned there, who played from 45 to 52 with career averages of even higher and slightly more impressive, thus, obviously. 20.3 points per game and 11.1 assists per game for Peanut Butter, who also appeared in an All-Star game 3 times. Once was voted the All-SBA second team to the All-SBA second team and a 2-time assist leader of the SBA. As a point guard, yeah.
Now, without looking at the rest of the ballot guys, would you take any of them into the Hall of Fame?
These three. Of these three, you mean?
Yeah, of these three only. Is there any guy you would say that's Hall of Fame material?
No. Unfortunately, with Mata and Peanut Butter, they also fall into the sort of same category as I mentioned about Manslapper, where I thought they were well above average for a better part of their career, but well above average is not usually gonna cut it for your SBA Hall of Fame induction. So yeah, I think you, especially on the point guard / shooting guard position, obviously we don't have any sort of intangible stuff for a deeper dive on a statistical level here, but I think Peanut Butter for a good part suffered from efficiency problems, and Mata was maybe at times even the fourth best offensive player on his team, which is not something you think of a Hall of Fame caliber player. And yeah, also not being the best defensive player on his team. So no, I would say none of them are quite up there, but they do have the resume to be up for voting, which is obviously why we're talking about them. But it just goes to show that they're on their last ballot here, and I don't think they're gonna be etched into history like the others in the SBA Hall of Fame would be. But as a point guard aficionado, what's your quick take on both Mata and Peanut Butter?
I mean, I agree with you. They are far from the Hall of Fame, especially Mata, because you said you believed him to be well above average. To me, he was always the embodiment of an average point guard starting.
Yeah, maybe at the time, of his era, definitely more average. Yeah,
right now he would
average.
probably be one of the better ones, but that's a different talentscape we're talking about. With Peanut Butter, he was good defensively, but as you said, not elite in terms of shooting efficiency. Great passer though, surprisingly high steals per game throughout his career. I always wondered how he got more steals than I got, despite me having a higher stealing rating, etc. Yeah, good player, similar to Manslapper, bit punished by the talent that was around in the league, like especially the season 42 draft class with the loads and loads of guards there didn't give us guards in the following seasons much opportunity to shine beyond our prime years. So I think he could have had a great year 9 as well, but he decided to hang it up beforehand. So not Hall of Fame for now.
So what about the rest of the players? We've gone through those on the third ballot. On the second ballot, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whopping 7 players. I guess we can just go through them in order.
We can speed through a bit, I think.
Yeah. It's Steve. First off, Stavros Valliotis played or made his name for the Charlotte Aviators in the first place, and definitely is of the same mold as Ippolito Mata, possibly like very like sure-handed point guard who also got his fair share of rebounds, but that came at the cost of maybe more scoring or more efficient scoring. And yeah, only 1.9 steals per game through his career, but I think Steve also had to battle a lot of depth chart stuff on minutes limits and stuff like that. So couldn't have even played the same amount of time as some other contemporaries. For his accomplishments, he was a one-time All-Star, which I love to see when it came up in the game. When I was picking up the rosters, I was the Simmer then. And the one-time most improved player as well. But do you think Steve is pretty comparable to Mata, or do you think there's something more special or a different aspect to his game?
I think they're quite similar, though Steve had, or Stavros had the a bit more limitation due to his cap stealing.
Yeah.
But decent career, most improved player in his last season with Mexico, All-Star. Not much more to say.
Yeah, let's just continue on to Bojack Peanut's butter partner in crime. It's Cairo Ganar. Also, well, on the production side, quite similar to how peanut butter eventually came out to be. Definitely two different players here, as Ganar was a small forward / power forward and also a one-time power forward of the year winner. But very reminiscent of KG's first player as well, Tayshaun Prince, with 30 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, then 2 steals and just below 2 blocks per game for his career. So, like, that reads as a prime power forward / line to me, or an offensive power forward / line to me. And to keep numbers like that up for your career, obviously, it means you get a lot of opportunity early in your career. But he also took his scoring to another level in his prime years and was awarded with 4 All-Stars, 1 Most Improved Player, and also 1 All-Defensive First Team by the Sim, and ends up at 18th in points all time. What's your memories about Cairo Ganar?
I mean, do you remember the antics about Cairo Goat for weeks and weeks in the Discord back
Yes.
then? Yeah, that's what I think many still remember from him. I like Ganar a lot as a player, not only because he torched my ass in the SBDL finals. He was pretty efficient, pretty good as a small forward offensively already, and took that to another level on the power forward. Helped Philly to a lot of wins together with Bojack, so I actually quite like his chances, but when we get to the first ballot, you might get why I'm not that optimistic about him making it in this season.
Yeah. I think compared to Tayshaun Prince, Kairo Ganar maybe has a little bit more Hall of Fame cachet with a Power Forward of the Year nomination and being so high in points of all time and having such a large career average. But it's definitely up there. I would say he's, of the players we've mentioned so far, maybe tied or just above Pierre as the most likely to someday make it into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, probably.
Then,
Speaking of most
yeah.
likely, you've got the infamous, the one and only one.
Yeah, sorry, had to dip back there. About Breeze Ladrian. So, yeah, I accidentally pressed pause recording instead of mute my microphone, but it is what it is. So yeah, up next, speaking of possibly not deserving a Hall of Fame nod, is what I heard you say there. It's Breeze Ladrian of most famously, and I think only of the Oklahoma City Ramp. He played for Chicago.
No, he wasn't. He was OKC, Colorado, and Chicago. I think.
Yeah. Chicago definitely, but didn't remember about Colorado. But yeah, that's.
Yeah, he was traded for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah. One-time All-Star, one-time Small Forward of the Year. Yeah, not much to say about Ladrian. Pretty impactful in his one good year, less impactful in his other years, and not sure how to categorize a player like this. Like, they're definitely not. I would be surprised if Ladrian got any votes to get into the Hall of Fame ever through his time on the ballot. But yeah, this is like a traditional, like, he only played 7 years. How do you value the one sort of peak season compared to the career resume? I'd say for a Hall of Fame, you really need to consider the multi-year impact rather than 1 or 1.5 seasons. And yeah, I would say Ladrian is just here because 1 year the metric showed that getting 10 or what was it, 9 point something assists per game was more valuable than whatever anyone else was getting at the small forward.
Do I hear some salt in there?
No, I don't remember. I just remember I also voted for Ladrian because I thought, maybe his statistical resume that year was really good, but I was just wondering how a player of his caliber managed to do so.
Yeah, I mean he wasn't really bad. He was always like a team first kind of build.
Which sort of makes
played
him
a lot of limited minutes during his time with the Rampage, so not the prettiest career averages, not the individual accolades beside that 1 year. I think he could have maybe gone for at least another All-Star and maybe a second team if he would have gone for an 8th year in the league.
It would have been difficult though, competing with super high scoring players at the small shooting guard and small forward position like Bernie, Cooper, Scola, and
he wouldn't have been a shooting guard. That's for sure. I think he could have maybe gone in second, but I don't remember the race in season 54 that vividly. I only know who won it. But yeah, I think that's enough being said about Ladrian.
Let's just see here some of the best small forwards of season 54. There are Zero Miedo, Creamy Biggins, Kengo Kuma, Bobby Ilozumba, Joe Cooper, and
No, Cooper didn't play small forward that season, did he?
Which year were you talking about? 54.
54, yes.
Yeah, it says he
Did
played
small forward.
Yeah, this says right here. And they had Hilmarsson, Jervin, Cooper, Takeda, and Serrano. So no way he was.
About that.
No way he was getting in anywhere.
Yeah, okay, no, then then
And
no,
then
no way.
that's not even mentioning players like Freedom, Echenam, and Adekoya and stuff like that. Anyway, moving on from whatever the fuck. It's Francisco Lobo from Brazil. A 10-year career in the SPA. What do you... We all know that Lobo was inactive. Pablo went inactive by the end of Lobo's career, but what do you remember about Francisco Lobo? A very good FIBA player, must be said as well.
He got a lot of chances on the FIBA squad, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, on the first ones, yeah.
Yeah, I think with Lobo, it felt like he went inactive like halfway through, like year 5, year 6, something like that.
6, I would say, yeah, I think.
Stuck out at the 1K, 1.1K TPE level, which made him pretty much the best inactive on the market. And whenever you just wanted a sure asset that you could pull anywhere from 2 to 4 or put on the bench, I think Lobo was the best option for that switchable defender, efficient offense, and yeah, he won't carry your team as the primary man, but in this seasons where Cap was a bit more forgiving, I think he was a really great piece for any team to have. So I'm kind of surprised that he only has one All-Star, probably because, inactives don't need to get their stat handed to them by GMs, so they are kept happy. So probably that played a role. But what's your take on Lobo?
I think Lobo, he's like a extremely interesting case once again of a player who maybe played his best seasons before he reached the highest TP numbers or AP numbers, since his best seasons, in my opinion, were the time when he was in New York for the Rail, and also I think the season before this, he played for the Corsairs, where he had like amazing blocking numbers, playing a lot of center as well, like 2 something steals per game and 3.2 blocks per game, which is definitely not representative in his career averages of only 1.7 and 1.6, since after Pablo went inactive, maybe Lobo was just more tossed around and like used as strategy fodder rather than like a special part of any team's game plan. Yeah, let's just see here. Yeah, since Seattle in season 52 season 49, Lobo played 28 minutes, 11 minutes, 20 minutes, and 21 minutes per game. And the last of those seasons was last 2 of those seasons were on the purposefully bad Atlanta Vipers teams. So definitely tanks your averages that way. But yeah, I would say his season on the rail was excellent, and from there on out, maybe improved a little on scoring efficiency, but never actually reached the potential that was there from his first seasons in Miami, and then once he was traded to the Corsairs. Yeah, one-time sixth man of the year, one-time All-Star, also one-time Simulation Basketball Association champion with the aforementioned Rail. Yeah? Or,
yeah, with the Rail.
Yeah,
He
not
didn't
with
win
Houston.
with Houston.
Yeah. Just making sure. Yeah. 59 Houston, 59 Houston. Yeah, so he won it in Houston, not with Rail. Ooh, such a shame. So in 49 or 47 it was the Bullets, and then in 48 it was with the Ravens. Yeah, I was there. I was around the Houston team at that time, and I remember Pablo still being there. Yeah. Up next, it's one of your definite favorites. Who is it?
You mean Fabrizio Scola?
Yes.
Who I miswrote as Louis Scola about 20 times while I wrote his introductions. Yeah, I think Scola is a unique case in the SBA. I mean, 3-time Offensive Player of the Year, and all those times were his first 3 seasons in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the Ocelots didn't make the playoffs in those seasons, I think that's still quite impressive. Um, from any standpoint, even though we have seen now a year, what was it, 11 or 12, Joe Cooper being able to win an Offensive Player of the Year as well
Yeah, and
in the
now
right
in
circumstances.
season 59, a year two player is up there in contention. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think especially when his defense started to came around, I sort of expected Scholar to have an even higher peak than he had in the end. And maybe being able to contend for a couple of awards. He never did, but still 31.7 points per game, 7 points or 7 most scored points of all time. Nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah, and I would guess he had one of the highest scoring seasons ever in general, and definitely the highest scoring rookie season ever.
Yeah, he had
Uh,
36 points per game as a rookie.
yeah, which equates to then would this be 12th best of all time, and now in the annals of history already falling to 21st all time by season 59. But yeah, a special player. I I was excited to see where his career would have gone since the um, first three seasons. Like it seemed like there was nothing left to accomplish on the scoring side, but the player profile to the end stayed much as a ball to me first, and I score, and then everything else came as a like a secondary objective. All in all, like you said, seventh in points all time and 7-time All Star, and was a like even for all Nanos Carmaginous, a quite like always made me happy to see him deliver in wins, especially. Maybe not so much in the losses, because that's always boring when you have a player who scores 51 points in a loss. But then in the wins, it always seemed to be amazing, like 21 of 29 from the field and 7 of 9 from the free throw line, stuff like that. That's always like excellent to see. And yeah, it really made me happy always to see Scola succeed, which, depending on who you ask, was quite rare occurrence. Who's up next as a second ballot member?
Do you want to read out his name?
Yeah, it's
Or are we just sticking to the acronyms straight away?
no, I like this name. This is like actual names. Timothy, not even Tim, it's Timothy actually. Ray Allen Smith Hudson, colloquially known as Trash, ended up being a bit more than stuffing into the bin, um, with career averages of 25 points per game, 7.5 rebounds, 2.3 steals, and 3.2 blocks. I would say prime Smith Hudson was one of the top players in the SBA in general. Just so happened to be in contention with players in his position rather than across the positional spectrum. A 3-time All Star, 1-time Most Improved Player, and once a All SBA second team member. Do you agree with my assessment that Trash was actually one of the best players in the SBA upon a time?
Yes, definitely. I've always felt like he was the prototype big man, future superstar big man. Even though he was drafted 1 year after he should have been drafted, I still don't know what happened behind the scenes on this one. I think MSM didn't have a pick in season 45
Yeah.
and then drafted him in 46 or something like that. But during his prime, he was extremely, extremely good. I mean, I've played with him for 2 of his prime seasons, and his second team is to Joe Walker Santos, who won the MVP that season, and he was competing with Jaws for the MVP. So I think there's more than just
Meets
a
the eye,
second team
yeah.
aura to it. But obviously that accolades won't be enough to truly make it into the Hall of Fame.
Oh, already pulling off the big reveal there that these accolades won't be enough. Yeah, I think if
I
you're
mean, is
just,
it a big reveal?
I'm not so sure. Like, I think the Hall of Fame is for players who were the best players of the SBA at a time in the past. So in that sense, Thrash maybe could be up there, but like you said, it's not mesmerizing to read out the accomplishments of Smith Hudson's career in the end, which probably just drags down his stock. Not only a little, but maybe a ton even. But yeah, much love for our man. Yeah, sure hope Afamesuna Adeson could possibly reach these heights one day, but it's not looking too likely at the moment since Adeson is not even actually sure which team he's on. I would guess the
I
Corsairs.
think Corsairs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but definitely not setting the world alight so far. And the final one of the players on their second ballot, it's a very interesting one. A player who started their career with massive amounts of expectations, but quickly were lifted of those expectations once people realized that now that Jogin is not simming the NCAA anymore, he maybe is not as interested in remaining active on the SBA in general. But Del Williams also reached, in the end, quite a high number of AP, and I would say his box score stats that are laid out here: 15.2 points per game, 6 rebounds per game, 3.7 assists per game, then a whopping 2.2 steals and 2.5 blocks per game. They are as well a little bit dragged down by the inactive free agent roulette he had to went through or go through at the end of his career. Much like Lobo, he also played on those horrible Atlanta teams. And yeah, a lot of Del Williams's value came from both perimeter defense stealing and post defense and blocking, which is not so easy to pull off at the small forward / power forward position. Once a rookie of the year, and then 4 all defensive nods, one being, or 5 all defensive nods, one being first team and 4 being the second team. What's your main memory of the active portions of Del Williams' career?
To be honest, I don't remember him that much as a player while I was a player.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly because Jürgen was pretty much inactive when I first hit the SBA in season 45, or at least it felt like it. Maybe he was
Yeah, I
still
think he was
updating,
doing premium.
but he wasn't around really anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's still not forgotten that he won the Rookie of the Year over Othello Hawkins. And I think a couple of other great players in season 42. And then got switched around for Hawkins between Chicago and Arizona.
Yeah.
And as most of you know, Hawkins went on to become a 2-time MVP. Chicago,
and possibly the best player ever. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can't remember if Chicago had the 74 win season before or after the trade. But I mean, Evans certainly had his reasons. But right now, the the swap obviously looks a bit lopsided in the end. Yeah.
Some of the other rookies of that season, they were a bit stacked on the 19-win Arizona Inferno team with Williams. Also had Dion Miller and very famous Pride Fertilized, a crowd favorite. But also you had players such as Funky Congo, Senna Sharp, Tyler Swift, Curtis Davis, Elijah Kamsky, etc. in that rookie class. So Yeah, quite good competition to beat out in the end.
Definitely. And now for the main attraction after half an hour.
Yeah, this is good.
Yeah,
let me just
well, after.
let me just 1 sec. And we're back on EA Radio Big. It has to go instead that we are not affiliated with EA or Radio Big. It's just something that I sort of put out there. But yeah, for our main attraction, it's the new first ballot for the season 58 Hall of Fame inductees. Who's up first? I think this is in alphabetical order. Yeah.
I think it is. Um, well, we're starting things right off with a banger with Eyal Beduza, the freak small forward, I think,
Mm-hmm.
from the Houston Ravens. Spent his whole career there. Obviously, Sixers as the GM player, as some might remember, and part of the most dominating run or dynasty in SBA history. What's your main takeaway on ER?
Uh, quite sure that it's pronounced Ayal, like you said the last time. Your first time it was seemed like the pig from Winnie the Pooh. Eeyore. Anyway, maybe it was my connection acting up or anything. But anyways, Bedusha, I think at the start of his career maybe felt a little underwhelming, and never was like a big man offensively or defensively, like in a traditional sense, but more diverse than meets the eye, with a lot of steals in his prime and even in the start of his prime, and quite a high amount of 3-point shots and attempts, capping out at 99 made in season 54. And a lot of jump shots, and like is the way with him and Walker Santos, especially effective on those mid-range jump shots there. Yeah, I think in the final years, 3 or 4 last years of his career in Houston, it became evident that this was going to be, in the end, a great player once more. Whereas Michael McConway Jr. before maybe was, I don't know if it was the TP structure or attribute structure back then, but was a contender on a finals team or on championship teams by like year 3 onwards. Bedusha made up for that by being the best player in the season 53 playoffs, I think, when he won the playoffs MVP. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
think so.
I think for an offensive player, it's as good as you're gonna get, and everything else just followed suit when you had such talent as he had around him in the best Houston years.
I
Five-time
actually think
champion
he,
as
he
well.
yeah, he wasn't as flashy as you mentioned, stats wise, as his predecessor in Michael McConway Jr.
Or even
But
partner, yeah.
I still think he is a huge reason why this Houston dynasty was so dominating, because he still was one of the best defensively and
Mm-hmm.
would score his usual stuff on any defense without huge drop offs in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And that's where the most valuable stuff comes in. His average are a bit down, still not bad at 25 points per game, 2 steals per game, 3 blocks per game, but he only played like 34 minutes on average
Yeah.
throughout his career, so quite a low average. Um, Mainly because Houston was running 6-man deep
And
squads
always
or
won every
blowing
game.
people out.
So yeah, yeah.
So I think he's got a solid case for himself.
I think in the season, I think I looked this up once, but in the season 53 and 54 playoffs, where they both went to the finals, First they beat the Aviators and Beduja was the finals MVP, and then they lost to Miami in 54. I think there was like only 2 or 3 games where Bedoya had a below 650 true shooting percentage and scored less than 30 points. Like, let's just recap here. In season 53, he scored less than 30 points 5 times. Oh, yeah, it is a bit more. But yeah, but possibly it was just the 650 true shooting mark that I was looking at. So even if he had less shots, they were still always as effective as ever. As some might know, depending on your game plan and strategy, maybe later in games when there's a more set offense, the game engine still happens to favor guards who already handle the ball and have a high overall rating. But it never hurt them in the end because Beduja, when he got it, he always knew what to do with it and proved it with a Power Forward of the Year award win, Playoffs Most Valuable Player award win, as I mentioned, being a 5-time champion with his Houston teams, same as Rashid Ryder earlier. And yeah, like you said, amazing defensively still, but not the conventional big man numbers, rather high on steals and sort of around there on the blocks per game numbers, but definitely was part of those top 3 defenses that they had for years and years straight. Up next is another crowd favorite. Who is it, Nepto?
James Boxman, most notably for his season with the Miami Vice, because earlier on we were talking about what do you value more, career or general peak longevity or just a single season. I think Boxman is an interesting case for this. For those that don't know, Boxman had a fairly uneventful, let's call it that, a career. Um, Up until his 8th season, more or less, where he became MIP, MVP candidate, point guard of the year, and playoffs MVP all in that season.
Yeah.
And I think that season has something special to it, even though he didn't win the MVP, because for the impact it had a bit on the meta in the SBA, and otherwise all the narratives that was around Boxman season. But how do you remember him?
I definitely thought he was a bit of a meme for the first 6 years of his career. And in revising now, I would rather go with the narrative that it is a shame that he wasn't given more opportunity. Maybe it was because the Corsairs team wasn't so good. Maybe it was because on the first year in OKC, there were a lot of good players taking away all the shots and just leaving scraps for Boxman as the point guard. But also a very eminent example of how if you set your best player to be the 6th man on the team, they look even better. Now it can be debated if Boxman was even the best player on those Miami teams. But yeah, I would say so. Reading through all the play-by-play of the playoffs when they won the championships and he won the playoffs MVP award, I would say so. Definitely that Boxman was everything that they wanted to do and go through, rather than the players such as Craven Walker or Alexander Marcus or Denver Knicks. But yeah, in general, I thought he was a bit of a meme to begin with, and maybe even Sid thought he was a bit of a meme. But with hard work, a lot of TP, and good management, ended up being one of the best playoff performers in the last 10 seasons, definitely.
And I think, as you pointed it out, the super sixth man strategy fully gained is acceptance the right word, or just got more
Prominent, yeah.
attention to it with that playoff run? Because even though he started for some series, I remember him starting against Charlotte that season.
Yeah.
Yeah, he showed that a super sixth man is a viable strategy that can win you games.
Yeah.
And I think that cannot be understated for the rest of the season 50s.
Yeah, and it still raises some questions. As you said, he started against the Aviators and he also started in the finals against the Rail. Not to discredit the Houston Ravens of that season specifically, but I think just by looking at the AP structure, the Rail and the Aviators, weirdly enough, happened to be their best competition that year. And Boxman didn't start. This is totally nomenclature. Like this doesn't have anything to do with his Hall of Fame case. But Boxman didn't start in the regular season. The Vice finished 7th, I think, in the regular season. And when he started in the playoffs, they played easily their 10 or 11 best games of the season. So it is like you said, maybe gained more prominence and more eyes or more opened people's eyes to the idea of a super six man, but it can be debated what kind of results they specifically had during the season with Boxman on the bench. But yeah, definitely one of the players you always were excited to see what happens with him in the play-by-play aspect, especially of the playoffs, since this was the main selling point of Boxman's career, those two playoff runs. Could be he hit a corner three after Marcus or Vakarian or Walker held the ball for 10 seconds. Could be that he get a steal right after and throw down a massive dunk. Could be that he get 3 steals in 1 minute and then suddenly Miami leads by 11 rather than 4. And yeah, just a lovely player in my opinion, and was used to his fullest capabilities by the Miami teams he was on later in his career. At least, at least when it came time to win. Like I said, there maybe not in the regular season, could be debated, but definitely got the best out of him in the end, and a well-deserved place on the Hall of Fame ballot with all the awards and accomplishments he had. Once a champion and most valuable player of the playoffs, like we mentioned. Once a point guard of the year and most improved player, like you mentioned. Also, once a steals leader, I think, in the season where he was coming off the bench for the Vice.
Definitely in that season.
Yeah, 3.5 steals per game that season in season 54. So who's next? I know who's next, and this is not a player I really cared for at all during his career because didn't think it was too good. But go ahead with the next player on the list of being inducted.
Next up, we've got Colton Caesar, a freak shooting guard that wanted to play big man all of his career and ended up winning an award at shooting guard.
Yes.
The jokes a bit aside, interesting concept that he was. I think I can relate to someone winning sixth man of the year in their rookie season, but not the rookie of the year.
It makes sense to me, at least. If you're good enough to win Rookie of the Year, you're good enough not to be on the bench. But yeah, indeed.
Yeah, so I think he had an interesting career, some good defensive seasons.
Yeah, in contention for Defensive Player of the year when Takeda won it, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And won the
52.
one and only co-shooting guard of the year that I know of with Joe Cooper, though I still believe that Cooper was better that year.
Yeah, I do as well. Yeah, I think
But
Cooper
still, he
was
has his place on the
slighted.
ballot. 25 points per game, 2 steals, 2 blocks on average. Blocks are always a bit weird with the change between the perimeter and the paint. But yeah, I don't have much more to say about Caesar.
Yeah. I'm just gonna go back on my word a little. I have some things. Obviously, Caesar was a premium player for a time, and I'm quite in line with what you said that it is like especially weird to actually win the shooting guard of the year award when it could be argued that your best position is almost definitely power forward on the like prime player build. But then again, in the season, he won the shooting guard of the year or shared it with Joe Cooper. He had statistical profile almost similar to Cooper, but lacking in shooting efficiency. Generally, one of the best defenders of those two seasons, 52 and 53. But maybe with 70 handling and 35 passing, had too much on his plate as a wing player rather than being a power forward or center in the end. So I think all in all, a fine player with a high peak, but maybe did not reach the heights that you would have liked for a super high player, super high paid player with a lot of positional versatility, a career average efficiency of 61.2 true shooting is not especially anything to write home about, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Also, a lot of jump shots because he was not taking 3-point shots. So maybe all of these spot up duties happen to be foot on the line stuff by way of fast break ball basketball free.
yeah. I mean, I said I don't have anything more to say about him, but I will say this. I was always confused by the fact that he wanted to play big man, but created a freak shooting guard and refused to take the biggest advantage of a freak shooting guard, that height advantage at the shooting guard and small forward position for most of his career.
Yeah.
If he truly wanted to just be a big man, he should have created a power forward center, taken that additional height or whatever, and not the freak tags and etc. etc. So it always confused me a bit, but still had a good career nonetheless. Though I don't think it's Hall of Fame worthy.
Yeah, I would say, wow, my audio peaked there for whatever reason. I don't think I was being especially loud, but maybe I fucked with the cord or something. But anyway, I would say if you're gonna shoot yourself in the foot, then at least don't whine about it later. And I don't think Diedi really did, but a lot of people suggested to me that when I was creating Talibakili that I should create a small forward freak to get extra height and more so-called defensive versatility. You can imagine all the people I asked were general managers, very hot on my trail. But anyways, in the end, I decided to create and make sure that I only played power forward and center instead of running into a situation where you and Bobby were like, ah, no, the best free agent on the market is Brian Kowalski or someone who was power forward / center eligible only. So now you're gonna have to play small forward. And then the extra height doesn't matter any because you're being in a shitty position. So yeah, for Caesar, like I would say, like my final notes would be like sort of comparable to players like Gnar and Manslapper, but just a notch higher with the contention for Defensive Player of the Year and winning the Shooting Guard of the Year award, which was in hot contention that specific year when Caesar was up for it. Who's next?
Next, we got one of my favorite players because real careers got curves. We've got Qian Chen from formerly the Henderson Honey Badgers, then I think Mexico, Milwaukee, Atlanta, then someone later on Atlanta again, Washington, and I think even Chicago sprinkled in between.
All the
So as you
shitters,
might
yeah.
guess, from all those teams, he played a lot of seasons. I think it was 12 in
Seattle
the end.
as well, I think. It was Atlanta,
Seattle,
then Seattle. Yeah.
Oh yeah, right. He played one season in Seattle.
Yeah.
That's true. I often called him the triple double prince. I think that's a fair comparison or fair name. After DMX, who was the triple double king of the time, came very, very close a couple of times to average a triple double. Had one of those little asterisk triple doubles over the time of his career, was a good defender, great rebounder, finished his career first rebounding of all time. And yeah, I think a very interesting career from being a high utility player only in his first 2 seasons to a monster for several seasons in his prime, and then back to utility and tank command of some sort.
Yeah. One of the best teammates that I've had as just a player, I think, and I've had a confusingly large amount of teammates in the past 25, 27 seasons. 5-time All-Star, 1-time Shooting Guard, and 1-time Power Forward of the Year. Also once a Most Improved Player of the Year, to add 2 All-Defensive First teams to that. Yeah, in a career that spanned unfortunately long for someone who loves to see their heroes die young. In the end, Chen played for Washington, and I don't know if he was even starting or not, but averaged probably something like 12 points a game. A far cry from his prime years in Milwaukee and Atlanta, where in Milwaukee he was definitely the best player on those teams, driving out efficient offense at the cost of Valentino Frieden and Monroe McMahon just sitting there doing their something.
And Washburn, wasn't it the year that you also had Washburn?
Yeah, but Washburn, I would say Washburn could also drive efficient offense with his like amazing passing.
Okay, that's a fair assumption.
Yeah, whereas Freedom and McMahon were just cones parked into each corner, and the 3 rest of the guys like Willie, Chen, and Washburn had to actually play the games. Anyways, yeah, another player whose career averages maybe took a bit of a hit after going so far into regression, especially playing 1,700 minutes in Chicago, but all 82 games. That's sure to tank your averages down a lot, since in his prime seasons in Mexico and Atlanta, he played 3,600 minutes. So yeah, there's like 107 games worth of just fodder in the career averages, which is like 1/6 of his entire career. So take the career averages with a grain of salt. What matters most is the 3rd in steals all time, 2nd in triple doubles all time. Boo! I don't care about triple doubles at all. And 1st in rebounds all time, like you mentioned there. A lot was achieved in those 12 seasons played in the end, but yeah. I'm just gonna ask you straight. Do you think Chen is going to? Well, you actually might know.
I know if he's going to make it or not. So.
Yeah, so it's better if you ask me.
Yeah, it's probably better if I ask you if you
Yeah, I
think
think
that
he
he's
will. I think he will.
I mean, it's not to understate that he also has 3 All-League second teams next to his 2 All-League first team nominations. So
yeah. So in general, 5 times named into the all SPA first or second team. Yeah, I don't think it's a no doubt case. Like I would have thought for players like who were named just before, like Rashid Ryder, Monroe McMahon, and who was the one just before that? Sebastian Steele, Othello Hawkins. Maybe Steele is not in that conversation to most people, but to me he was. But anyway, yeah, maybe not a no doubt guy like those are, but the resume is still awesome. So I would say he should be in the SBA Hall of Fame once his time on the ballot is up, be it first, second, or third time of asking. Then the next player.
now we are falling back into the previous player invasion.
Oh yeah.
Even back to
Should
back.
should we yeah, should we figure out a like a format to do here? So maybe you talk about freedom and then ask me questions, specific questions rather than what did you think about your previous player, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, let's do that. I
All
think
right,
it's
yeah.
easier asking the other guy about his previous player
Yeah,
than
because I
talking
have a
about your
hard
own
time.
player.
I have a hard time splitting his or yeah. The next player is Valentino Khan Freedom, my previous player. For anyone who didn't catch that, so yeah, I have a hard time splitting his career apart, like from the years in Milwaukee to the years in Charlotte. It's just the same player career to me, so it'd be pretty difficult to talk to him in a Hall of Fame sense, whereas you might do it a little bit better of a job.
So then let me try it. Yeah, I think Freedom was an interesting case. I wasn't really sold on him when you entered the draft as a 3 and D forward. Um, with a 99 3-point shot relatively early in your career, if I remember
Mm-mm.
correctly.
No, I never had 99. I had 95 by the time I was drafted, and like 98 or 97 when I was done. But yeah,
Yeah,
generally,
still
my
95,
only
a pretty
offense
high
was, yeah,
investment
yeah,
for a rookie. Um, so I was a bit skeptical. I mean, he still was one of the best defenders on the forward position, regardless of in Milwaukee or Charlotte. I think in the end you ended up playing only small forward and not even power forward.
amazing.
Yeah, it's for someone that always says small forward sucks. You seem to have loved it. Um,
No, I
but
just
jokes,
mean
I think
if you were saying that from the perspective of the Charlotte Aviators depth chart, I can specifically note here where my blocks per game also went down. So it sort of makes sense what you're telling me that I maybe didn't play power forward at all by design. But yeah, anyways, yeah,
I had you set to small forward power that much I can give away.
yeah,
Um, but who I'm talking to, you exactly know what our depth chart of those seasons were as the simmer. But
yeah,
yeah, I think once he arrived in Charlotte, more or less, he embraced being more than just a 3-point shooter. I think you started that conversion during your last year in Milwaukee, and I think it paid off quite well. It's unfortunate that his run at 3 consecutive small forward of the years was disturbed by injured Bruce Adrian,
yeah.
but still 2 small forward of the years, 2 finals with the Aviators as one of the elite guys. Once with Baramy, one time without him, I think. But no, we didn't make the finals with Baramy, did we?
No,
Was that the
we
season we
got
lost to
kicked off.
Miami?
Yeah, we got kicked
Yeah,
off by
yeah,
Miami. Yeah.
yeah. So two 2 times to the finals, even without the controversial Baramy. And yeah, I actually would have loved to see you go for another season, for a ninth season in regression. Not as good, probably as your year 8, but still quite serviceable, especially as a small forward.
Yeah,
But
well,
after all, I think
anyone's
good
serviceable
good
at
career
small
to look
forward.
back. almost 3 steals per game on average throughout the career, and a bit less than 2 blocks per game are pretty good defensive numbers. And 21 points per game is nothing too bad either. I'm actually surprised he's only a one-time All-Star. But back to track, how much do you regret not getting that third small forward of the year?
Well, it's not up to me to regret it at all. Like, I got the awards playing the player build I wanted to play, and if I really like, yeah, it's a difficult question, because if I regretted it, then it means I have to do something different with my player build as well, I guess, or wish for better luck in sim. But that's like,
Maybe regret is the wrong word. Maybe sad is a bit too
yeah.
strong.
How
Even.
disappointed am I?
Yeah,
Well,
disappointed is a good choice.
well, quite disappointed, because it was in my second, like, it was in my second best season. Like, in my third best season I won it, and in my best season I also won it. So why didn't I win it in my second best season? Well, the answer is earlier in this episode, and if you want to go look up the awards for season 53 SBA awards, then there's some in there. But yeah, generally I'm not sure what to really think, because all this episode I've harped on about players who had lower career true shootings than in their position players typically have. And where in the first 3 seasons, I tried to make a player who would only be like the ultimate threes and layups player. I'm actually quite unsure how that didn't happen at all. Like, there was still a fair share of bad shots, or maybe wasn't too strong or strong enough inside with 85 strength. But in general, the peak was quite high still. Like, where you said that I maybe started investing into more offense in my last year in Milwaukee, that's actually not true. It was just that specific Milwaukee team was really bad. 3-1, the season 51 Milwaukee. That was when we were in the lottery, and had picked Peyton Wright and Jack Straw the season before. I was just playing with Wright, Qureshi, Straw, and maybe a filler. Or no, Mike St. John, yeah.
But I think he was regressed at this point.
He was, yeah. So it wasn't like, let's just quickly see here. 99 quickness, 50 inside still, 85 strength, 90 jumping. So no, definitely didn't invest into the one-man show that I was put into. Even the season before that, in season 50, when we ran into a bit of bother, as a lot more teams overtook us after Chen had gone out. I think it was fourth year Freedom was suddenly the second/third best I'd say second best offensive player on his team, if you exclude the magnanimous talents of Mason Washburn that are quite, it's not one-dimensional, but you know what you're getting out of Washburn. So yeah,
we will get to him later on.
Yeah, those mid-career true shooting numbers of 55.7 and 56.9 in Milwaukee really like sort of tanked my idea of small forward being any good of a position to play in SPA. And I'd say that view has held up pretty well in time when you don't have a team that's full of shooting guard or point guard freaks. I'm not sure that a general run-of-the-mill small forward is any good, even if they are top of their position in AP, or top of the league, even in my case at one point. AP, the small forward position is questionable in general. So I applaud anyone who's ever had great success there, because it takes a lot of planning on the team side and the player build side, whereas I only wanted to do this one build and wasn't really going to deviate from that. And yeah, you also mentioned the play of disappointment that we had, which was quite clear that even though we pushed Miami to 7 games, they at least did their fair share of homework, trying to make it so that neither Bermi or who's this guy? Freedom we're talking about could get the shots they want to, and would instead have to pass it to Billy Banks, Alexei Frost, Mason Washburn, even Oleg Piton when he happened to be in the game. So if I had regrets, I would have maybe had 70 passing, but I didn't plan for it, and in the end, it's a disappointment that I didn't plan for it. And then by the time the playoffs of season 54 were starting, it was quite too late to make such an adjustment. But yeah, I think it's a borderline case. I don't think Freedom is any higher in cachet than Pyro Ganar, especially, or for an earlier example, Ganar or Manslapper would be. But also, I'd say for 3 or even 3.5 years was the best small forward in the SPA. So it's a difficult proposition to compare for someone who was the best player in the league, like Hawkins or Walker Santos would have been, to someone who was just clearly the best at their position, and the only reason they were was because of the drought in players or scarcity in general. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head. I think he is a borderline case. Does depend a bit on who is coming in the next couple of ballots, and those are. I mean, he's still a 2-time positional award winner and was one of the best small forwards for 3 consecutive seasons, even though he didn't win it in one of them. But yeah, we will see how voting goes in this regard. He still is one of the best defensive small forwards to ever play the game, in my opinion. But that's a different thing.
Yeah, that was my plan, anyways. First off, but then once I realized I can't just be that with the amount of AP or TP and money I was being paid, I had to do something else as well. But yeah, also the worst player I've had in the SPA. So it would be excellent if Freedom was still to make it into the Hall of Fame, since he has not won a championship at any level, whereas both Harklewood and Talibakili, well, actually, I think Freedom has won plenty in FIBA, but no one counts those. So yeah, moving on anyway. Less about my player, the better. More about your player, the better. It's Kichiro Maeda in up next. Let's see here. Maeda, then we have Pap. Oh, a lot of players to go.
And we have 4 more guys, so maybe let's speed through him. I think we've talked about him quite a bit already in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, or we can like cut it off here and then talk about them later on Sunday or next week if you'd like.
Yeah, we can also do that. I mean, I'm going to push the introductions out the next couple of days.
Yeah.
So we can just complement them next week or whatever.
Yeah. Whatever we've been talking here is still, it's not like it's too freeform to actually like take any notes into the introductions. I feel like maybe some of the career arc stuff, yeah, or maybe the fact that the Boxman had like the bench cheese and supreme playoff pick compared to whatever he had available to him in the playoffs, maybe. But yeah, should we do that? Move the rest to next week or Sunday?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So from
We've
Maeda
already gone
onwards.
past an hour already.
Yeah. I think this it's just gonna devolve into 30 minutes more, which is gonna be unbearable for anyone to listen in one go. So
Because we have two guys I want to talk about quite a lot at the end of it. So.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. That's what I thought as well, because the two final guys are like some ones who deserve like almost an entire episode in my opinion, because they're one of my favorites. So it'd be unfair to start speeding up now and then just breeze past through them instead. Breeze. Yeah. Anyways, with that, keep an eye out for Nepto's introduction or the preview for the season 58 class of Hall of Fame, and make sure to get your voice heard in the thread and on Discord of who you think is the most deserving of Hall of Fame spots. It can be multiple players, but make sure you note out who's the most. I'm pretty sure I have an idea who people's most is once you see the full ballot. At least I have one in mind who's the most, because he's the most best of all time. But anyways, yeah, we'll be back at you. Even if we record on Sunday, it's gonna be Monday because TP and weekly schedule and whatnot. So thanks a lot to Nepto, and yeah. What was I still saying about the? Yeah, indeed, do keep an eye out on the Hall of Fame preview and discuss this massive group of people up for Hall of Fame voting. Thanks, Nepto.
Yeah, thanks to you.
Yeah, and thanks to you all for listening. And what were you saying?
Yeah, I was about to say thanks to anyone listening to our rambling every week.
No, this is less rambling. You suggested a bad topic to talk about the other week on one of the Discord servers. Can't even remember what it was. Something like just bad. I'll make sure to talk about it the next time. Yeah, if next time we get through the rest of the ballot quite quickly, we can maybe touch back on contemporary SBA news, like, did the Maulers hang on to their top spot? Are the Vice still undefeated? Spoilers, neither is not. Go to sbahistory.com/SBA to see the latest standings of the professional league. With that, we'll bid you goodbye and see you again next week.